Hello friends, welcome back. Today we are going to continue with our API and microservices project. I have an existing web app that's live on Heroku, and I've discussed how to set this up in the video called Introduction to APIs and Microservices. So if you're not following along with me on all of these, I'm making one web app that is going to solve all of these problems. So this one has our timestamp microservice on it and everything else. So you can see if you click here, that's the timestamp microservice, and you can make a call to that one. And so we set that up. And so now we're moving on. Our last one was the URL shortening microservice, and now we're going to create an exercise tracker. So the exercise tracker it's kind of interesting. The way that they've done it, I think, is interesting. I'm just going to put in here, it's like useful programmer. I've already created this in the past. Let's see if they allow for duplicate. Oh, cool. It says the username's already taken. I don't remember what my username was, so I'm just going to put exclamation point. And so now you see we've created a new user, and there's the underscore ID. If we go back, if we pump the ID into here and we do 100 push-ups, duration of 10, and the date be like 2029-27, and we submit that, then we have this as saved as well. So I guess that's kind of the thing that they want us to be able to do. Provide your own project. I can create a user by posting form data to username to API exercise new user, and return will be an object with the user and underscore ID. I can get an array of all users by getting API exercise user width. I can get an array of all users by getting API exercise users. Oh, okay, cool. So we could go API exercise users. If we take that to here, exercise users, that should get us a list of everyone who's doing this on Free Code Camp, which will be massive. Holy cow, that's a lot of data. So yeah, my computer's actually slowing down, and I'm actually, yes, the browser's slowing down because there must be a lot of users. It still hasn't loaded. I'm just going to go back over here. Yeah, but if you check out here, you'll notice that we do not. We want to have .com/API exercise users, and this doesn't work because we haven't set this up yet. I can add an exercise to a user by posting form data. If no date supplied, it will use current date. App will return the user object and the exercise fields added. I can retrieve a full exercise log of any user by getting API exercise log with the parameter of user ID. Cool. So yeah, this is that massive this is all the users that have ever signed up for Free Code Camp. Wow, Pavan, Gorvano. I actually just did this, so I'm wondering if, yeah, you can see these are my last ones. Okay, so, and then yeah, this is my user ID here. And so if what were they saying? API exercise add, API exercise log with, if we go API exercise log, is it logs? Just log, and then we want to pass in a parameter. Oops. Exercise logs, and then parameter user ID. Okay, so user unknown. Okay, so I'm not exactly sure why that's not working, but for now, let's just say that we know that that's what our goal is. Cool. And so yeah, I'm going to open up in my terminal. I've got this here. I've already said git status. You can see on my remotes, I've got my Heroku set up, and it's also going to my GitHub page. So if I were to, well, yeah, what we can do now is we can just start it. So I can go npm start. And so this is going to run my local machine on port 3000. And so this is the production. This is Free Code Camp's REPL production. This is my production app. And then finally, we want to have a localhost 3000. This is actually the local one. And so now if I open up my text editor, Adam dot, that'll get me my text editor to open. I think my computer's still tired from, oh, you see, I need to actually have a new, so I'll press Command T to get a new tab. I would like to have my operational tab be this one, and then if I go Command 2, that's where my server is. This is the server, so Adam dot didn't do anything. So I want to go Adam dot here. Yeah, so now Adam's opening up, and so this is going to have the node server on it. Now I've cloned this from existing the existing ones, and so what I want to do here is I'm just going to say we can either look at it through the REPL.it or we can check it out through the GitHub. So I'm going to open it up in a new window in GitHub so we can see our boilerplate project. And yeah, I'm pretty sure that we're pretty good on this one. You know, if we go to our package.json, if you wanted to do this, I don't want to spin up a whole new server and get it working just to do this. So I'm just going to check the dependencies. We've got Express, Mongoose, MongoDB, body parser, cores, and short ID. Cool. So if I go here, we can check our local version of this. It looks like we've got body parser, cores, short ID, Mongoose, MongoDB. We've got Express, EJS. We have EJS. They don't have that, but that doesn't necessarily mean it won't work. So my guess is that we're pretty good on our NPM packages. And so the first thing, yeah, I guess what we want to do is start figuring out what they wanted us to do here. Let's see if the instructions are on the server. So usually that's how it works. Error handling, not found metalware. Message not found. Express static. So yeah, let's check out our server file. Server.js. I'm going to close all this other stuff. And so this is all, their name is, this is like, this is for our other projects, right? And so we want to set something up now. Yeah, it looks like they're not actually giving us anything of value in here. So basically this is just a you're on your own, figure it out kind of project. Yeah, if we go to API exercise, so they have it on a separate page like this. This form has to be somewhere in this project, right? So let's go to the project. It looks like the server's just, yeah, well, we can check it out. Okay, at root, they're sending us to views index. Now, we have an existing system here where we're not setting it to the index. Here, their index is this main page. We don't want it to be that. We want to have exercise tracker. And so we've been formatting timestamp, request head parser, and then we've got URL shortening. I'm looking at the URL at the bottom left of the screen. And so we want to add to this. So let's open up our index file. And so yeah, here we have an unordered list, and then within each one we have a link. And so I'm just going to copy this one and make another one. And we're going to call this one our exercise tracker. Exercise track, CISE. Cool. And then we're going to title the link exercise. Exercise tracker. Now if I save this and refresh the local version, we're going to see that there's a new link here, which is awesome. So we can click on exercise tracker and it doesn't work. Why is that? Well, our server doesn't have that, so we need to set up the route. So here we've got the index timestamp, request head parser, shortener URL. Well, we want to make a GET request on this page for exercise tracker. Exercise tracker. Yeah, I want to make a note. I put these in camel case. These should be in more URL friendly. But another thing, we want to make sure that our app.get, we're sending it, what route are we sending there? Exercise tracker. If we go to exercise-tracker, we want to request, we want to have our response be to send the file of _ directory name, and then it goes to the HTML page here. And so if we save this, and I think we can refresh this page. Okay, so it might need to restart the server. So I press Control-C and then npm start. That resets the server. There we go, Useful Programmer Exercise Tracker. So we have our basic route and HTML file being served from here. Yeah, I wonder, yeah, they ask us to just duplicate the, they're telling us that one of the things for this project, we can clone this repository to build it. And so let's do that. Like, we don't want to clone it directly because we're kind of setting it up differently, but we can just take this HTML page and make it our own. So I'm just going to copy all this and throw it into here. This is going to save us a heap of time of doing silly stuff like setting up the forms and things like that. Forms can be kind of challenging. I mean, it's just the input, but it passes the user ID, and that saves us time from doing that. So instead of making it making it right there, yeah. Let's see. It looks like they're doing double indentation, so that annoys me. I like to have single indentation. Yeah, yeah, it's fairly important for me for that kind of stuff. We've got their style sheets and stuff like that, but yeah, we can go to our local host now and refresh the page here. Nice, now we're getting it. I don't really care to have their styles on here. We can do URL, description. This is all fine by me. So we'll just leave it like this for now. Create a new user, API user, and then we should just have maybe a link to go home. Yeah, so create a new user. There's the post, the API. Cool. Try to make this as efficient as possible. So this is their style sheet. We don't have to use that, so we can actually get rid of their style sheet. We can get rid of the like the request to get the different font. We don't need that icon. And we want to make it, instead of exercise tracker, this right here is what's going to show up. Oh, exercise tracker here. Yeah, see, on our local host, we've got the free code camp logo. And so that's what this was. I can get rid of that, and that'll get rid of the free code camp favicon. Here it says exercise tracker free code camp. We should say useful pro. I'm going to rename the file to be useful programmer. Exercise tracker. Now if I save that and refresh my local host, cool, you'll see that some of the styles even went away already. And so we've got a little bit cleaner of a thing. I'm going to make this with Bootstrap too. So we're going to pull in Bootstrap for example. Bootstrap docs for, but we don't want examples. We just want the getting started version. And so, yeah, I like just throwing this in there because it makes formatting easily. And it just kind of makes it so that we're working with kind of production-like code. We can, in future versions, we won't be just throwing in scripts like this at the bottom of the HTML page. There's better ways to do this, but we don't have to worry about that for now. And body script. Okay, so I saved that. We've got our jQuery, Bootstrap, and Popper, whatever that is. And then we've got to pull in these guys as well, these meta tags. So we're going to throw those in above the title. Get rid of the comment. Get rid of the cross origin and the hex tag. Okay, and then the last thing I'm noticing in here, that the HTML has a language for it, which is English. I'm not exactly sure if that would make a difference, but it's worth a try. So now if I save this, we don't have to restart the server because now we're going to be pulling a lot of our styles in from outside. And cool, this makes it look a little bit cooler. One of the things that I know is that our inputs can have a class of form control. Class equal form control. And that is going to form control. Well, let's check the documentation. Looks like I got that wrong. Forms. So yeah, form group, and then within them we have form dash control. Form dash control. Okay, so maybe we need to make each of these in a div and a class equal to form group. Let's see if that gets us there. And now if I save this and refresh this, cool. Now we're starting to get these into the forms. This is the style that we want. And so I'm just gonna copy this a few times. And if I just go command click and I press enter, that's gonna get me on all of them. And then I can do the same thing again with a close div. And then yeah, just tab indent all of these guys. So if I save that, refresh the page here, cool. Now we're spacing it out pretty well. We've got our username. Let's see, we want to make the buttons. Yeah, here they have the submit value is equal to that, so we want to make this a class is equal to button, button block, button primary. So this is going to make this is a cool blue button, and we're going to make that the same up here. So this button is also like that. We refresh, and then we're good. Okay. Yeah, and So this is all in a container right now. I like that. And we should put it within a row as well, because that's just how Bootstrap works. And then we can tab all this stuff out as well. So you can see the container, and then within the container we have a row. And that way we can utilize columns as well. So now we want to go div class is equal to column. And I'm just going to throw this all in the same column for now, just to make things a little easier. Just to make things, just so we're back on the path. Let's see here. If we were to inspect this, let's see if this is working the way it's supposed to. Cool. Yeah, so I've got a column, our columns here, and then we have our row. Column, row. And with the column, we could make it like a center. We could make it like MD 6 offset, MD 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 3. So if we refresh now, that's a bit bigger. Cool. So something's going on with these forms. We want them to fill the space. And I wonder why they're that size. So I'm going to right click here, inspect this element, form control, form group. What's going on here? It should be form group, form control. Placeholder email, form control. So here we have form dash control, CLAS. Ha 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 ha. So we want to add another S to this because that's why this isn't working. So if I save that and refresh this page, cool. Now these are all properly, they look like bootstraps. BTN, BLOC. We want to make that BLOCK. And then, so yeah, class. We want to do that to here too. We want to add this form control class to, looks like we have this input as well. And then this is the button. That's also there. Cool. Now this is going to start looking like an actual thing. Nice. And so for the button, we're going to add a padding, PY3, 4. So that's just going to, when I refresh this page, this submit button, we want to do a margin, not a padding. MY4. Cool. And that gives us some space there. And nice. We're good to go. Okay, so now we have a better formatted. If we were to look at this on an iPhone, you'd see it actually fits better. So now we've got a mobile responsive web app going, which is awesome. So cool. Let's get started. Username. Let's say we want to create useful programmer. Now if we submit that, well, that's not good. It says cannot post API exercise new user. Awesome. Well, that's what we want to look. So I'm going to kind of ignore the front end now, and I'm just going to close this. So if I go to server, basically we're having a problem with a post request, right? So if I scroll through here, I can try to find examples of a post request. So here's an example of a post request to API short URL new. So I'm just going to copy this for now, and I'm going to come down here. This was for our body parser application, URL shortening service. So I'm going to do 2 commas, and I'm just going to say this is for our exercise tracker. And we're going to add it here. This is going to be where we do our API, but we don't want it to do that. We want it to be exercise. And we want to say new user. And so now if I were to console.log accessing post request. And then, if we look at the post request, basically it sets up some variables of stuff to do. And then it says if we save it, then we want to respond with the JSON. So yeah, if we console log there, that tells us that we made it. And then if we go respond res, right? Post request. Yeah, res.json. Let's just say, well, we could do with the post request, the response. Here they go, request and response. So our request.body.url. So rec.body.url. We should say input. We can just make an element that says input, So this is we're responding with an object, and we're doing our user input is going to be equal to request.body, and then we should also be able to see it console logged there. So now if we go back to our exercise tracker and we do the submit button, it doesn't work. Why is that? Well, we haven't reset the server. When we adjust things in the server, I think we have to reset it. So we go here, Command C, go npm start. Now we can see we're listening on 3000. So if we go back to the original one, we can go to exercise tracker, and then we can just say useful programmer and submit that. And well, at least we're getting stuff back. So that tells me something's happening. Exercise, new user, it's set up. Accessing port request. Accessing port request. Okay, so our console log went through as well. And so for whatever reason, we did not get the JSON that we wanted back. Cool. So yeah, maybe we could just throw request in there, and then stop the server and restart it. And then if we refresh this one, press continue. Converting circular structure. Okay. HTTP parser. Okay, so we can't just send the request back. Maybe we go rec.body. So if I save that, stop the server, start the server, and then resubmit that form. Cool. Now we're playing with fire. So our user input, we've got back that we sent in a username. So when we made our post request, our rec.body is equal to this object, a user name useful programmer. And so what we want to do is create a new user. Now, do we have a user in here? I remember doing it. Okay, so Mongoose model. Here we have a model for a short URL. So yeah, and then our short URL is mongoose.model, short URL, new mongoose schema. And then where do we set up? So we have the mongoose set up here. We set that up in earlier lessons. We required mongoose here, and we've got mongo. And so mongoose.connect, and we set up our private database URI in our environment variable, which is hidden in that folder. And that one we set up in Heroku. And so that means that we have the tools to do database stuff. So the time that we used it was down here. We built a schema and model to store the variable. So let's just copy this guy. And then bring it down here. Mongoose.schema. We set the schema. This is short URL, mongoose short URL. So we want to make this for the exercise tracker. Let's set up something here. So instead of short URL, we'll call this one exercise user. And then instead of short URL, we're going to call this exercise user. I want to use this later, and when we actually do advanced node and express, we're going to actually have a better system for setting up users. But for now, I'm just going to use exercise user rather than user because it's I want to be able to have this application keep going, and so the exercise unit we want to have separate from normal units. But okay, so exercise user. What do we want? We want underscore ID, and we want a username, I think, right? Let's go back and check. There's if we go to what was it? API exercise users. And this is going to take a long time to load again, but this will give us a list of the things that they want. Let's just see if it goes raw. Will that change? Yeah, it's just literally freezing my computer because there's so much data coming through right now. That is a problem, but whatever. So yeah, it's got underscore ID. It's got a username. Cool. That's it. So yeah, I guess don't need to complicate it. So our exercise user, here we go. And so when we made the request here, our rec.body was here. Okay, so now how did we start a new short URL? Well, when we built a new short URL, we would do it just like this. Cool. So let's just copy our URL and bring it down to, now we're doing this within the post request. So here we set up the schema and the database to be able to save this. And so now we want to create ours once we're in there. So here, remember how we get accessing post request when we go to this one? Well, we want to do all this now. So instead of a short URL, we don't want to do a short URL. We're going to do something else like, okay, so yeah, what we want to do is username. And the username, is going to be rec.body, and then then we could do, I think we could go .username. Cool. And we can get rid of this stuff because that's not what we were doing there. And then, yeah, okay, cool. So let's scroll back up here and watch how it saved it. So here they set up a new URL. They saved it as the variable new URL. So instead of new URL, we don't want to do, we want to do this one, exercise user. So we're creating a new exercise user. And then we want to make our variable be that. So now we're basically instantiating a new exercise user. So that's a version of this guy, and it's got the username set up here. And so, the next thing we can do is, so it's just like up here. They go .save, and then they have the following stuff. So let's actually copy the error as well. Actually, let's just copy this whole thing. So if I copy this, we bring it down to the here. Yeah. Rec.body. Okay, so instead of new user, we want to make this exercise user .save error on doc. If there's an error, we're going to console log the error, and we're going to respond with JSON of saved is equal to true. And we're going to call this one username is going to be equal to exercise user dot exercise user dot username. So we're going to respond with the username, and we also want to respond with the ID. So our exercise user dot I'm going to go underscore ID. Now this might be not correct, so give me a second. And then we want to get rid of this old JSON because that was just for our tests. And so now we're going to get to see if see how this works. So I'm going to save my server. I'm going to stop it. And I'm actually going to console.log here as well. I'm just going to say about to save exercise user. And here I'm going to this is just kind of for debugging, right? I want to be sure that I'm doing something properly here. So I'm going to go exercise user, and so here I'm just printing it out to the console. So if we have an error, I'll be able to get a better idea. So accessing post request, and so I've got some good logs in here and everything. So I've saved my changes, and I'm going to restart the server with npm start. And if I come to my local host, I can just start from scratch. Let's go there, go to exercise tracker. You see it's listening, and we'll call this useful programmer. Let me save it. Cool, we got a problem. But we do get some information from here. So document must have an underscore ID before saving. Cool. Now what happens up here with the short URL? How did they manage that? Suffix. Short ID.generate. Requested URL. New short URL, that's a suffix, and then they do that. Okay, that's cool. So what we could do is do a short ID.generate with a suffix to make the exercise users. They need to have an underscore ID. So yeah, here we would want to do that. So let user ID. Well, we can say user ID is equal to a short ID.generate. So we're generating a short ID. If you don't remember what that is, short ID is just a NPM package that we have here, and we required it, and so then we can just use it in our code. So that just generates an ID rather than us having to do it by hand. Cool. Document must have an ID before saving. I'm going to actually look this up to see if Mongoose has specific documentation on this error. Below the code. You don't have to define underscore ID, as mongoose.schema.objectID is the user schema. Mongoose dot. Cool, so here's our schema. Oh, Mongoose, let's see. User ID generation. I generate a Mongoose object ID with that. Cool, so let's try to do this one instead of using short ID. Let ID equal there. And we can just call it ID is equal to ID. I'm just going to make this a bit bigger because I like having descriptive variables. Mongoose generated ID. And I'm going to console log this as well. All right, save that, and I'm gonna stop our server and restart it, and we'll just go through the thing again. So, localhost, we go to exercise tracker, we type in useful programmer, and we submit. Nice. Okay, Mongoose error. Document must have an underscore ID before saving. Cool. I think we need to make this an underscore ID. Because you can see here, you know, we made it to here. We got our exercise user, so that means, oh wow, we got it to here. So we were able to build the instantiation of the object, and then when we did .save is when it stopped working. So we know that we got through to this console log, and then our problem was on save. So let's stop it. I added an underscore to here, which is kind of important. I think I can just resubmit this by doing that. Oh, but I need to start the server. npm start, and so I'm just gonna go back to exercise tracker, and here will be like useful programmer. And we submit that. Oh wow, that's awesome. Okay, cool. So about to save exercise user, and we've got it. So this is kind of passing one of the tests. Let's see. I can create a user by posting form data, and returned will be an object with a username and underscore ID. Okay, so we have passed this one, and so what I want to do now is just see how we're working. So I'm going to go back to my working tab, and I'm going to commit this. So git status. If you see that, it shows that we've added a view for index, and we've added views for the view file. We've added to the view index and then we've added to the server to make it there. And so if you go git diff, you can see all the differences that we've made in this code. Okay, so I go :q to quit that, and I go git add. So I'm going to go git commit -m, and I'm going to say add exercise tracker user generation view route controller and index. So I'm going to say git push Heroku master. Now I set that up in the introductory video of these ones, and so it's easy to deploy this code. So right now, if I go to useful programmer and if I refresh here, you'll see that we still don't have our URL shortener here because we haven't pushed our code from our local machine to the Heroku server apps. And so right now, this is all just getting pushed out to Heroku. Verify and deploy, done. Okay, so now if we refresh the page here on our production app, we see exercise tracker. And so this is live on the internet. That's why this is such an interesting project. So if we click exercise tracker, then yeah, there we are. We're good. I think if we, right here, we could actually do username too. Useful programmer. And that gets us this. Cool. So let's go back to this. I think we want to pass in exercise tracker to this guy, but maybe not. Let's just I say complete the test. That's just going to run the tests for us. All right, so it's not working. I'm just going to go useful programmer Heroku app. We don't want to actually add that suffix in there. Cool. Now we've got our first test passing. This is awesome. We're actually, generating a new user that's being saved to the database, and that's cool stuff. So now we just need to pass these next 1, 2, 3, 4 tests. Okay, so let's see. I can get an array of all users by getting API exercise users. Then the same info as when creating a user. I can get an array of all users. Okay, so right now, yeah, this is it. API exercise users. They get a list of all the users. Cool. So right now, if we go to our local version and we try to do that, we don't get anything, right? API exercise users. Well, that's not useful. So let's head over here and say, okay, we have our, I'm just going to get this string in here. We know that API access users. And so we want to go, we're going to make it a GET request. We're going to get and then that's the route that people would go to. And then we're going to say a request and then a result. And we're going to make that, we're going to use ES6. I'm kind of over doing everything in the old way and then refactoring. I think if you got to this point, you're probably good enough to not need refactoring all the time. So yeah, rec res. Cool. So now what we want to do is respond with a JSON object with a bunch of stuff in it. So let's look up here to see a get. So a get request with a suffix that looks it up. Res.json. I want to see one with the short URLs. We never made a list of them. So yeah, how can we do this? So we do want to respond similarly to this one. Res.redirect, let's see, short URL.find. I think we could go .all and then res redirect. We could just respond with JSON. Yeah, so let's give that a try. Res.json. And what do we want to respond with? We want to respond with objects. So let's get all the exercise users, right? Let's see, mongoose get all. Let's go with mongoose documentation. And I want to find all, like get all. String object, prototype connect. We've already got that one. Connect on, length. All. Okay, cool. Query.prototype all. So this gets us .find.where pets. Okay, so I think that we can do model.all. So here we've got our thing. Let's say let all users, all exercise users equal, and we want to go exercise user dot all. Pets when called with an argument. The most recent is best to use yeah. Cool. So now I'm going to just go console.log all exercise users, and we're going to respond with users, and we're going to set that equal to all exercise users and see if this actually gets us there. So it's cool. I'm going to save that. Go back over to our server page tab because I press Command 2 to quickly go between them. npm start, and yeah, we can go back here. I'll start off going to the root page again. So here's our local host. We go to our exercise tracker. We can be like useful programmer, and then do submit. Nice. We already knew that one works. So what we want to go to is exercise/users. And if we go users, cannot get exercise users. App.get. Oh, okay. So I actually stopped the thing for a little bit. This is the thing. You want to make sure there's a / there. So if I save that and I go back over here, I want to stop the server and restart it. And now we should be able to at least get some different response. Okay, so exercise user.all is not a function. Well, that's good. At least we're getting, something's happening, right? So exercise user.all. Well, exercise user is there. So let's see what happens if we were to console log it. We want to pass that into as a string. What happens if we go .all .toString? And then we'll just comment this stuff out for now. So I'm going to save that, stop the server, start the server, and then refresh this. Let's see what pops up. Cool, same thing. Exercise user is not a function. So let's go back over the documentation. My model.find where pets.all. Find specifies all query conditions. Okay, so maybe we need to do .find.where.all. .find. Maybe .find.all. I think they're chaining all that out together. And we can just say all like that. Maybe this will run. So let's save that, stop the server, start the server. Interesting. Okay. Actually, we want to say keep that guy there, and then we'll console log below it all exercise users. So exercise user dot find dot all. And so then we can console log this, and that'll tell us if we're getting it there. We might as well just say users and say all exercise users. So maybe that'll actually solve the problem. Let's see if we can get that to run. So we start up our server. It looks like it's running. No syntax errors. So we refresh here. Okay, converting circular structure to JSON. Stringify. Users. Okay, so we want to find out how to get all mongoose. How to get all instances of a mongoose model. How to get an object of all models. Mongoose.models. Oh, that's just how you get it. Model names. Oh, okay. So we have our exercise user. Mongoose.model names. Oh, this is how to get a list of all the names. How to find all documents in Mongoose. User.find. Equivalently, you can use user.find with no arguments to get the same result. Filter all. Huh. Well, let me think here. We want to be able to get them all. Am I doing something? User.save. Res.json. Are we just res.json? Maybe it's just user.find. Maybe that'll be easier. So yeah, let's save that. Stop the server, start the server. Run back over here and refresh this page. Same error. Oh, but we are getting something. Okay, so here, yeah, our query. We're getting a query. And let's see if we can find useful programmer in here. Connecting string. Oh, that's all right. So I'm going to press, I want to clear this terminal up. So I'm going to press Command K, and then I'm going to refresh the page so I get a cleaner readout. So now if I were to search here, I can find useful programmer. Name, port. Plugins. So I'm just looking through here trying to figure out this out. Collection name, exercise user. Yeah, exercise user.find. Printing it all out. Huh. Okay, cool. So it looks like we're going to do it like this. I don't know. This has 13 upvotes, so we'll give this guy a try. Okay, cool. So we've got our GET request here, just like theirs. We want to say exercise user dot find, and then instead of doing stuff in here, we're going to make this a we're going to pass in an empty object because we don't care what we're looking for. We're just looking for everything, and then we're going to have error users, and then we'll make that an object, and then we'll do stuff in here. So we're going to respond with our JSON here. But I want to make this exercise. And then so users, we want to handle that error. About to save exercise. Oh, we want to just get rid of these console logs now. Those are the console logs from the post request that was working. We want to just clean that stuff up. Exercise users. And I think here they do it res.json. So instead of res.render, we're going to do that. We're going to res.json, and we're going to send back users. And then here they had users and users. So users is users. So we want to say exercise users. So we'll save this and see if that does it. I'm going to go back to our thing. We're going to stop our server, Control C, press npm start to start our server. Oh, it's listening, so now we can just refresh this page. Oh, cool. Dang. FCC test. Oh, wow, the testing unit has already created these things for us. So we've actually, yeah, there's the one that we set up. Here's another one, useful programmer. Now this, you notice that the usernames aren't unique. So I want to say, let's say mongoose ensure unique field. Schema. Cool. Unique true. So we can do that in the schema, it looks like. So instead of just having it say username, we could go type string, and then we can say unique true. All right, so now let's save that. Nice. Well, we are getting this information, so now I'm just kind of, I don't know why I dove into that, but this is actually passing the tests now. So I'm going to stop the server and restart the server because I don't want to see if I cannot specify a custom index of ID. Oh. Wait, what if I just comment out? Oh. Well, if I comment out ID, does that make it so? Oh, you know, and I wanted to make this I wanted to make this unique, not that. So let's just get rid of ID. Well, no, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to copy this because I think that this is what I want to do to username, and I'm just going to undo everything back to where it was originally. Okay. And so I want the user to be like that with a unique is true. So let's stop the server and restart it. Cool. We are still getting that. Click ensure index. Use ensure index is instead. Let's go Command Shift F. Collection dot. Okay, so I don't know where that's coming from. But yeah, let's see if that works. So we restarted the server. It seems to be working. If I go here, if I go useful programmer, I want this to actually. Nice. All right, so this one worked. Exercise. I think if we go to users, right, this will get us everything. Useful programmer. useful program, useful. Okay, so we're not getting, it's not keeping the unique one element of that, but that's not necessarily all that important. We can get all the users now if we go here. So I can add an exercise to any user by posting form data user underscore ID. All right, well, let's just push this code to the server. So let's go get status. We see our server was the only thing that was edited, so we want to go get add, and we're going to add all our files, or we could just go server.js, and now we say get commit -m, and we're going to commit. We're making a little message about what we added here, and so basically we add a API endpoint for getting all users. And now we want to go git push Heroku master, because if we go to our production app right now, which is this guy, and we go to API exercise CISE, and then we go /users, we don't get anything, right? But we do locally, right? If we go exercise users, we get all the, oh, well, it's not running locally, but we do get it locally. I'll just run it locally. npm start. Cool. And so if we go here, we have it locally, but we don't have it in our production app. And so that's why we are going to go back over here and do a git push Heroku master. And so once this kicks up, so yeah, now it's just detecting that there's a new Node app. We're installing the binaries, dependencies. It's rebuilding up the whole application. It's telling us that there's no vulnerabilities, which is pretty cool. The build was a success. We're compressing, and now we're verifying the deployment, and it tells you, yeah, this is the HTTPS, this is where you can find it. Yeah, it's been set up to be able to go here. So now if we were to go users, we see that they're there. And so we've pushed the ability to do that onto the production app. And so we just want to get the root API, or the root request here, and then we can take that back over here. I mean, it's already there. We can just say I've completed this challenge. Yeah, in the tests, I can get an array of all users by getting API users with the same info as creating a user. Weird. Exercise tracker. API. Exercise users. Okay. Okay, so here's what I think is happening. I think that their tests are checking to see, instead of having a key value pair, they just want an array. So let's, instead of passing it in users like that, we'll just go, we're just going to pass in exercise users, because I think that this mongoose function actually gives us that. So if I save that and I come back over to the local host, go back to my server, stop the server, start the server. Maybe if we just respond with that. We'll save here, start the server. Cool. And now, see if we can get the users. Nice. And so now you notice that we have this an array with a bunch of objects in it. _v. Yeah, and if we look at this guy, this is their the actual free code camp example. You see it's an array with a bunch of objects in it, 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever many objects. So that's probably going to be what they're actually looking for. So yeah, this is the production app, and this is the local app, in which it's an array with a bunch of objects for users. So yeah, that means I think that we're good there. So we control C, ls, we go git add, git commit, respond with an array of users objects rather than an object with users inside. And so now we go git push Heroku master. Nice. And so this is going to do that long process again of just spinning up the server and having it work. Let's see, on here, I could actually take this time to push my code to GitHub too. So I can say git push. So if I don't specify the thing, then it just automatically assumes that I'm doing it to my GitHub portfolio. And so we can just check that out by visiting here. Yeah, and so this you can see. Oh, look, 4 years ago. Oh, so this is like last month is when I last worked on the README. And so I think if we refresh this right now, yeah, you're going to see that the server was updated a minute ago. So my project's being saved and held up on GitHub. And in production, if we go to users now, we should see that it's formatted differently. And that, I believe, will make this last test pass. We can grab the GitHub URL as well and just throw it in here. But yeah, now you can see we've passing another test. So we've got 3 more to go, and I'm going to break this video into 2. And so we're going to stop here for now. Maybe do some push-ups or something, because this has been a long video. And this stuff is kind of complicated, but as you can see, we're actually building things that are useful now. So yeah, it's really great. I'll see you guys in the next video.